Welcome to DFS Insights, where the match behind the match comes alive. I am David Geislinger, and alongside me is David Grant Jr., my cousin and co-strategist. The event up on the block is UFC Fight Night, Cannonier vs. Imavov.
With your lineup success as our top priority, this is where David and I will dive deep into what fight matchups we think you should be targeting in order to put yourself in the best position to be at the top of the leaderboard at the end of the night. We're going to break down the strategy behind our picks and share our insights to enhance your lineup construction. So please make sure to just give us a like and a subscribe so that way you don't miss out on any future UFC. We got NBA Finals podcast that we're dropping for each game. And then we got the NFL season around the corner. So, this is going to be a pretty solid free fight card on Saturday.
Yeah, we got 14 fights. Headliner, there's only one 5-round. It's the Cannonier and Imavov fight there. But with 14 fights, DFS slate, you're looking for those inside the distance finishes, round one finishes there, because obviously with 14 winners. The odds that a loser, even with volume, will probably be in the winning lineup. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and give you our three best matches that we think has the possibility to be in the optimal lineup. And with that, let's cut the whole intro here short and let's get right on into it. Moving on into our first matchup here. Miguel Baeza versus Punahele Soriano. So if you want to go ahead and start us off here.
Yeah, so this should be a pretty interesting matchup here. We got, Miguel here at 8,700. He's basically projected at 71 fantasy points. Vegas has the money line right now at about minus 195 or so. So he is the slight favorite. His opponent rank is 590, which means he's had a lower quality of opposition compared, Soriano's opponent rank is 590. And so he hasn't fought the quality of fighters that Baeza's rank has, which he's ranked at 1,043. So, definitely a solid play at 8,700. Personally, I do like the underdog in this fight. A big reason for that, he has called a safety score of 24 that suggests that he has very strong defensive capabilities. So his defense is really good. He's got good strategic flexibility. He has some strategies that could be designed to actually counter Baeza's strength. So Soriano, there's a lot more things that are not reflected in the stats as to that, aren't on paper for Soriano to win. And with him being only 7,500, with him winning, he'll be lower owned, I think. And then that'll help set you apart from, I believe there's 25,000 or 30,000 people in the tournament. So, that's kind of my thoughts on the two fighters. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, looking at so all of our breakdown, if you don't know, will be based on the 100K to first, 31, basically large field GPP tournament. Obviously, cash games and such. Strategy does change quite significantly, but what David mentioned, the 100K to first, 31. K plus entries here for this, but this fight, I like it in the sense that it has the potential to basically finish inside the distance, and that's kind of what I'm looking for on the slate with the 14 fighters, as previously mentioned in the open there. It's kind of crazy just kind of looking back at both these fighters. They kind of had like similar, I guess, inroads to their UFC. Both came into the UFC undefeated, and basically after they entered, they basically went downhill. So Baeza, had got knocked out by a dude with 2 wins, Fiallo. He only has 2 wins in the UFC. One of them is Baeza, and I don't think he even fights anymore in the UFC. Soriano, this is actually, I'm kind of going to be looking at this because this is actually his first fight at welterweight. He's dropping down from middleweight, so I'm actually, nervous on that aspect. Typically when fighters aren't doing good, they try to drop weight class just so they're like the big person in the ring. So be watching, obviously to see how he does going from middle to welter. But with that, looking at it, my math projections have Baeza looking at about 74% chance to win, and then that puts obviously Soriano at 26%. Vegas, like you mentioned, is roughly about the same there. Baeza's coming in at about 35% ownership, so he's a little high for that salary. So he would need to get significant amount of points. Obviously I'm looking for 100 plus on, every person, but at 8.7K salary, at 35% ownership, I think he's just too highly owned for what he's at. However, Soriano is going to be roughly about 15% owned. I'm doing a little bit of research, and that's what I'm kind of getting. And with that, Soriano has the inside the distance odds at plus 255, which means basically 31% to finish inside the distance, and a plus 500 to finish in round 1, which is basically 17%. So that's really good, considering the fact you base that on his ownership, and he's looking like a really good play there to set yourself apart. UFC community disagrees. 70% thinks Baeza is going to win, 30% Soriano. So I'm going to be having probably exposure to both, but I'll probably be leaning on Soriano on this to give me that leverage. So
nice. I'm with you on that. The dropping weight, that is a bigger weight jump than most, so that is a 15-pound difference because it's 170 to 185. So that is definitely something to keep your eye on, because it's one thing to drop 10 pounds, it's another thing to drop an extra 5 pounds. So definitely Friday on the scale, it'll be important to see what he's looking like and what he's feeling like. So good point on that.
Nice. All right. Next up, looking like we're gonna go to the Cody Stamann versus Taylor Lapilus fight. This one, I do like it, primarily looking at ownership wise. I try to stay away, looking at like even the main card, because typically a huge ownership goes up there. Obviously, will I be playing people on the main card? Stick around and you will find out. But looking at this one, Cody Staman's coming in at 7.3K. He's going to be about 18% owned. He is a wrestler, however, he's not very good at takedowns. But when he does take him down, unfortunately, he's also has, I'd say, lack of better words, piss poor top control, so his opponent typically stands right back up there. However, looking at my calculations, he has about a 43.3% chance to win here based on the math projection here, while Vegas has him at about 37%, a plus 172. Looking over at Taylor, he's at a negative 225, so about 69% chance to win. It's crazy. Just looking at it, this dude has Taylor has a 10-inch reach advantage over Cody Stamann. That's insane. Especially if Cody's going to need to try to take him down. However, Lapilus is actually pretty good takedown defense. So. And with a 10-inch reach advantage, that's just insane. He looks good. He looks like he's only going to be about anywhere from 8 to 10% ownership. So with those ownerships and the likelihood that he'll, probably, potentially, hopefully, finish inside the distance. Vegas hasn't dropped those odds as of now for the inside the distance or round one finishes, but I'm looking for a knockout from Taylor with that reach advantage. So, what do you think about that? The DFS community does agree, 81% chance Lapilus. However, majority of them think this fight's going to go to decision. So.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm a pretty big Cody Stamann fan. So especially at the 7,300 price, because he's also a wrestler that is going to get takedowns. And the people he's fought, he's been around. He's been around the block. He's fought killers. His first fight in the UFC was Aljamain Sterling. So that's pretty nuts. He's fought Song Yadong, Kelleher, Davishvili. So it's just his experience and who he's fought. Just to me, really says something to where Taylor Lapilus is a little bit newer to the UFC. I believe he only has 4 or 5 fights, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So and Stamann's won 2 of his last 3. One of those was by knockout. I mean, it was to Eddie Wineland, which Wineland was at one point really good, but nothing big. But he did knock him out in the first round, so that's good. And again, he's won 2 of his last 3, and I just really like him as the underdog. So this will be one of my personal top underdog plays. So
nice. Yeah, I think that's where the ownership comes in. He's coming in, like you said, about 18.3. So at that underdog rate, that's why I favored Lapilus being, the higher salary and being less owned. Because a lot of those higher salary guys, looking at Imavov, looking at Ferreira, Rosa Jr., and things like that, their ownership is actually pretty significant. He's basically the, second lowest owned fighter on the card, on the entire card, not just the main.
So yeah, that would definitely make sense. I mean, I could see him getting lost in the mix because of the 8,900 price. So that would definitely be and again, he's favored. So I mean, and he's favored at around minus 275, give or take. Obviously, it's right around there. So I like either side. So, and as you mentioned, you got to find leverage somewhere. And so by going with someone like that is definitely a great call. So I'll be playing some of him, but primarily I will be targeting the underdog here. So
nice.
Right on.
All right, sweet. So that wraps up the second fight here. So moving on into our third pick, our third fight. This fight's probably not going to go to decision. So looking at it, it's going to be Bruno Ferreira versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Here, both heavy hitters, heavy-handed. Bruno Ferreira is just a monster. Most of his wins are in the first round. I think he's only had 2 of his 12 fights go past the first round. So that makes me, hey, that's jumps out, but it also kind of makes me nervous because I don't really have the data to see what he's like after the first round. So from looking at some of his fights, he does basically kind of put all his power into each punch, basically, which typically looks like he's off balance in the fights. So I think if this fight goes outside, if Dustin Stoltzfus can weather the storm in the first round, I think that it sets Dustin up very good to finish probably Bruno, who's going to be gassed out in that second or third round. So Bruno Ferreira coming in at the heavy favorite, 9,400 salary, 9.4K. Vegas has him second best, negative 280. That's a 74% chance. My math came out at 64.9. So yeah, very heavily favorite. But just looking at it, Dustin Stoltzfus isn't, no punk either. Soriano, he fought him, weathered his storm, and Soriano throws bombs too. So I'm just looking at that. I mean, some of his knockouts from Stoltzfus came, got kicked in the face in the very beginning of the match. So that was rough for him. But yeah, I think I'm going to go against the grain here. So Bruno Ferreira is coming in 36% ownership. Dustin Stoltzfus at 12.4. So I'm going to be, I'll have exposure to both. Obviously, with Ferreira being that high potential round one knockout, it's going to be good to have him. 9,400 salary. I need him to be at least 110. 110 fantasy points there. Dustin Stoltzfus, however, if he can, be that upset, you get him into the second, third round, I think he can have the potential finish there. UFC community, 94% think Ferreira's going to win. 87% of that 94 think it's going to be by knockout. So, yeah. What do you think of this third fight here?
I'll just go ahead and throw it out there. I mean, anytime Dustin Stoltzfus is in a fight, I bet on him and put him in my lineups. Every single fight he's had, and he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's had 8 fights in the UFC. Every single one of them, he's been an underdog. So now, while he did lose his first 3 fights, he is 2-3 out of his last 3 fights. So it's great to know that, he has won by decision. He lost by knockout in the first round, and then he had a second submission sub. And he's fought the real deal people. He's fought Dawkins, Vieira, Gerald Meerschaert. Jared Meerschaert is like basically a gatekeeper. He's just no joke. Grant, Magomedov, and then Soriano. So, man, at 6,800, he could even win. Like you said, if he can get out of the first round, he could win and be optimal. If he's able to get 46 points in a loss, even the 35 fantasy points in a loss. So even in a loss, he has potential to still score high, and those are the type of risks I like to take. And then you mentioned how low his ownership is. That's even better. So he's, to me, an even better play from an underdog standpoint than the Cody Stamann fight that we just talked about. So this will be my main underdog play, second to Cody. I think I got a little excited and jumped the gun and said Cody was my favorite underdog. It's actually Dustin Stoltzfus. So, I will also have exposure to Bruno Ferreira, as you mentioned. We have not seen him outside the first round. He's either been knocked out or knocked the person out. So that's really, this fight's not going the distance. And if it does, that probably means a Stoltzfus win to me. And that means he'll automatically be optimal with a win at 6,800. There's no way you get 30 points just for the victory. So in a win, I promise you, he will be optimal if by decision. So those are my thoughts. How do you agree a little bit, or
yeah? I like it too. That's exactly why I'm thinking too. Like I said, I want to have exposure to both because, like I said, Bruno Ferreira he throws bombs. So if he can finish him in the first round, that will be huge. Because like I said, with 14 fights, you're looking for those inside the distance finishes. So I don't think this one will go to decision, but I'm definitely going to have exposure to both. So there's our 3 picks there. Now, like we do every time, moving on over here, looking at the rough projections here, using some math to look at the fighter stats. These are the predictions come up. Green is obviously their favorite to win the fight. Yellow, highlighted names, means they have less than 3 fights in the UFC. So I don't typically put a lot of weight behind those predictions because their stats haven't really evened out to get a good read on them, basically. However, keeping track against this previous UFC 302, these projections was 9 for 12. So, what was that, 75%?
Yeah.
If you get rid of the yellow players from that 9 of 12, I actually, got one of them, remove one. So I was actually 10 for 12 at 83%. I hit with these projections. So, use them as you feel. I consider them, looking at these odds and then looking at the Vegas odds too. So, yeah, with that, good luck on this upcoming slate here. We'll look forward to, covering more of these UFC fight nights as well as, obviously the main fights. And NBA's wrapping up here in the next, 7 weeks it takes to do these finals games or whatever it is. So yeah, now looking forward to, moving on here into the UFC over here on DraftKings. So with that, good luck. Hope to see you guys up on that leaderboard. And David?
Yep. Hey, good luck to everyone out there. The Jared Cannonier Imavov fight is going to be awesome. I'm actually fans of both. I'm a definite Cannonier fan, so I hope to see him win. And then, the Reyes Jacoby fight, Reyes typically either knocks you out or gets knocked out. So that's another one that's looking good to target. So yeah, good luck to everyone out there. Please like, subscribe. Please, any comments, questions you guys have, we're here to, talk, answer them. And yeah, we just, want to get out there and make that money. So good luck to everybody, and we'll see you guys at the top of the leaderboard.